John asked me a little while ago if I wanted to do an event for my book or if I was going to be doing an event for my book, and I hadn't really thought about it all that much. And he said, well, I'll set something up. All you have to do is show up. And so tonight, I thank John. Thank you, John, for setting up this event. Right? There's very little experience in my life where I just got to show up for something. And I get uncomfortable when I'm in a nice restaurant and they brush the crumbs off the table. So, yeah, I'm hard to be doted on. So, again, John, thank you for that. So, John has also invited Dianne, who's going to be our first reader tonight. And I'm going to go ahead and read the... I would be remiss not to mention this is in Boozo Veritas event number 2, which is a series that John is taking all over town. So who knows where it will show up next. But where was the first event?
It was at Little Indies.
Little Indies.
Or Loose Lips.
So it's a local tour, right? And, John's looking for groupies. So, follow the tour, become a kinghead or whatever you want to go with, right? We'll workshop that at another time. So, anyway, go ahead and read a little bio information for Dianne. Dianne Turgeon Richardson has published short fiction, creative nonfiction, and poetry in several print and online magazines and literary journals, including Thank you. Sundog Lit, much easier. The Christian Century, Glass Poetry, and the Florida Review, among others. Her writing has garnered several awards, most recently placing as a runner-up in the City of Orlando's Words and Wonders Poetry Contest. She earned her MFA in fiction from the University of Central Florida and is currently the co-host of Loose Lips, which, by the way, if you have not been to a Loose Lips event, you should go. A monthly reading series in Orlando Mills 50 District. So, everyone, nice hand for Dianne, please.
Well, thank you for that wonderful introduction. Since this is for In Boozo's Veritas, I brought my booze. So, Nostrovia to everybody tonight.
Nice driveway.
Huh?
Nice driveway.
I'm really excited to be here. Thank you so much, John, for inviting me. And thank you, Tom, also as well. And I'm very excited for your book release. So I asked John, what should I read tonight? I mean, he told me 3 poems, right? And I said, is there a theme? And he just said, wild. So there's a lot of ways to interpret that. So what I'm going to do is debut 2 new poems. And when I say new, I don't mean like I just wrote them. I think I wrote these in like 2020 and 2021. But we are publicly debuting them tonight, which I'm very excited for, and I hope you all like them. And then I'll be closing with one of my greatest hits, which hopefully you two won't be too angry about. So, little context. If you have heard any of my previous recent poetry, it's like all angry and political. And then I went through some shit in 2020 and 2021, as I think a lot of us did. Yeah, I see a lot of head nods. So this stuff is a little more personal and a little more vulnerable, so I'm glad I have my booze, because it's that kind of stuff. So this one is so new that it doesn't even have a title yet. Oh, and we've got the ghost of Jack Kerouac has set off the alarm.
House refuses your poem.
Jack doesn't like it. It needs a title. Hi, Karen.
Good to see you, Karen.
And treated
You slept in.
Come into the back.
I was gonna come in the front. I'm like, wait, I don't want to. I hear her talk.
That's fine. I like you, so you're fine. So, okay. like I said, this one is so new, it doesn't have a title yet. So if we can workshop that as well, if you think of one, let me know. Oh, the pandemic. When the hole in my chest reopened, everything was still there where I'd left it. Dusty and musty and smelling of mildew, neglected but never quite gone from my mind. I had tried to rid my head of the knowledge, the memory, but my heart, it said. My heart remembers every little thing. You plunged your finger into the wound without so much as a warning. Said, this is still mine, isn't it? A power I can only ever dream of holding. This one's a little more wild, so here's for you, John. This one's called Keep the Door Locked. In the courtyard, we fuck, and this too is a kind of healing. We fuck in the bright room with the white walls. Shadows lengthen and say, lust is not love, is not a bandage, is not real, will not work, will not happen. You are broken, you are broken, you are broken. We kiss, and lanterns light the way in the dark. We tongue, and the pain of years is washed clean. When we come, a new story is written where we speak across miles and touch across miles. In this story, we are in the same room. I ride you with the ferocity of every wound I have suffered. Your every thrust is an apology. Every moan is forgiveness sealed in sweat. We lay in the afterglow. We go again. Say, hold on to this instead of fear. Let me give you this instead of scars. This is the work of rebirth. And since John said I can only do 3, we're going to end with the wildest poem I've ever written, probably. The one my mother says is sacrilegious and blasphemous. And so it is the highest compliment I've ever received for my poetry. So thank you to my very Catholic mother. This one is called Pantocrator, which is a Greek word. You can Google it. I am the sustainer of all life. And a gaping hole blooms between my legs called pussy. My pussy is the portal through which you enter into life, the portal through which you enter into ecstasy. My pussy is more than just a place to keep warm. She was knit in the womb before I was born. Fearfully and wonderfully made, my pussy is a pioneer, blazing trails through pubic hair. My pussy knows words. My pussy has the best words. My pussy has teeth, breaks bones, cracks nuts with a clenched fist. My pussy throws shade, glorifies, oozes, and bleeds with the turning of the tides. My pussy conjures demon. My pussy casts spells. My pussy requires an account for your actions on the day of judgment. My pussy struts through broods of vipers. My pussy is the den of lions. My pussy throws over the money changers' tables and then hosts orgies in the temple. My pussy beats swords or plowshares into swords. My pussy has died 1,000 little deaths, but always rises again on the 3rd day. My pussy is the light, the truth, and the way. No one can know the mother except through me. I am the sustainer of all life, and my yawning hole can embrace or devour. Thank you.
Now it's time for John. John King is the author of the postmodern epic novel, Guy Psycho and the Ziggurat of Shame, published by Beating Windward Press, which makes us label mates now, which I think is very cool, in 2019. His fiction and poetry have appeared in Gargoyle Magazine, Borough Press Review, Autofocus Literary Magazine, Painted Bride Quarterly Annual, that sounds interesting, Bachelor Pad Magazine, and others. John is also the host of the long-running creative writing podcast, The Drunken Odyssey, which features the most exquisite author, Tom Lucas, and presumably some other people, but mostly Tom Lucas. I've done 2 shows. I've done like 2 shows. All right, let's have it for John.
Thank you, everybody. So, we paused briefly so my brother could get here. And by the way, my brother is the tattoo artist who designed our St. Jack prayer candle iconography. So, a little bit of Kerouac project history right here in the room. All right. Apparently someone else is late. Okay, so in Boozo Veritas is me trying to be a stand-up comedian through poetry, market testing poems in real time in front of real audiences so that hopefully by the summer I'll have a book worthy of being published and I can find out which ones rock and which ones do not rock. So this one's called Hello, Anyone There? Hello? Anyone there? Who put piranhas in the toilet? Who's hidden my Oxford English Dictionary? And who's been drinking so much of my vodka that this apartment is a labyrinth of quivering bottles? All right. Speaking of parental relationships with our poetry, this one's called Dick Jokes My Mother Told Me. Do I have to die for you to write a poem about me? She asked, weeping after I read Papa's elegy in the reading room of the writer's house. I don't know. Probably. Apparently I mislaid the rest of this poem. So, in looking through, the poems for tonight that I might read in Boozo Veritas file, turns out a lot of them are about death and they're kind of a bummer. So I decided let's pick a happy one about death. This one's called Making Friends. Should you grow bored while grave digging on a crisp spring morning, ease yourself down into the hole of dirt at about 3 feet down, like entering the bathtub of eternity, and look at the sky, weighted by clouds you can turn and squeeze with your mind. The grave will someday turn and squeeze you with its mind, but it will love you for this early introduction. Doesn't that feel better? All right. So this one's a love story about my parents. I don't think I've shown this one to my mother because I don't want to be corrected. All right. This is called Upon First Hearing Sinatra. The first time I heard Sinatra, I was a sailor. Or maybe I was just a fat baby in a sailor suit, slouched in striped cushions, abutting my mother's legs, she in a black cocktail dress, my father on the far side of the seat, smiling at me from over mother's shoulder, a cigar in his fingers, and it was September, according to the hi-fi's trilling moan. I first heard Sinatra in the womb, this amniotic song murmuring into waterlogged ears pressed to the wall, my foot upon my mother's spine, a sound enticing me into the flat dryness of this world. No, I first heard Sinatra when mother's body first met my father's, wondering, in the night lights of Boston, stretching through the sash windows of my grand-aunt's unlit apartment, my father's first wife, stalking the party downstairs, doobie-doobie-doo, the slowest waltz of two friends coming home into one another, my mother's black silk stocking swishing over a hardwood floor, my father's large hands melting into hers, his wingtips floating, and the baritone calling at that moment made me something in their smiles, in their eyes, in their embrace, and the knocking on the door, a silence. All right. Let's see if I have the fortitude to get through this one. This is called The Ride. Elephants are majestic when left to themselves to act and move like elephants, but put an undersized saddle on one with a fat middle-aged man on top, and then feed the elephant vodka-soaked hay, and that elegance shatters like a Ming vase in the lamprey room. The poor rider has to decide whether or not to be split in half while negotiating the teetering saddle, probably rendered impotent for life, or shimmy up to the elephant's neck and grab an ear in each hand, and hold on for wretched life as the elephant shambles over gutters and loses its sense of direction and purpose. Vomit erupts from its mouth, coating tusks with its own foulness, and some mess clogs the trunk, which the elephant turns into bullets of puke. How pungent is this madness, as your nephew takes Polaroids of the pachyderm's ambulations off the dirt track at the county fair, meandering towards the Midway concessions, yanking funnel cakes off of the irons and jamming them down the gullet, then corn dogs, sticks and all, and then as much rainbow cotton candy as can be trapped with its trunk. And then the beast, with the poor idiot atop its neck, goes to the sideshow and kneels down to squeeze, passenger at all, inside the tent. And the writer doesn't complain, because this is really more than what he paid for when he bought the ticket for an elephant ride, and now he's made a friend, prepared to see the unimaginable in the land of the ill-advised. People wonder why I'm so intent on using outlines to tell stories. That's what happens when I don't. Okay. So, this poem is inspired by Kira Shuttleworth, who is a former resident here at the Kerouac Project. This is called The Leaving and the Taking. The powder blue front porch is the domain of the Ziggurat, thoughts exhaled into a bursting overripe dusk, still too purely blue, this heartbreak of Florida, so humid you cannot breathe. Wisps of gray afforded their briefest around the Virgin Mary's smile before melting. The sky luxuriates with clouds, spitting out an ibis onto the crabgrass of the too-green lawn to probe the earth with its sickle of a beak, like a pen scratching out an inspiration. These thoughts, such smoke and etchings onto the page, are marked into this house's memory, this infinite moment as spring closes itself like the front door to keep sacred air conditioning in. Jack Kerouac has drunk your liquor while you slept. The pine floorboards have weighed the gait of these pacing cowboy boots. The bed springs have weighed the wavelengths of your dreaming. And the house itself, like the brain of the writers who have known this place, has weighed your poetry and will always be breathing you, patiently awaiting your boots upon the porch, the opening of the front door. Okay. Dick Jokes My Mother Taught Me, Part 2. Thought you'd like that one. You know, I have a PhD, and sometimes I figure out what's funny, but just any old dick joke, my mother sends her into paroxysms of joy. All right. There's the one about the one-armed fisherman, one about the nutcracker's broken teeth, and the one about the condom's Tabasco droplet, the one about the servant of God praying too hard, and the one about a steer's so accidental milking, the one with an ocean both icy and deep, the one about me as a toddler swinging in the shower like Tarzan upon father's vine. Thank you.
I think you have some keepers there, buddy. Okay.